Imagine you had a Klaviyo setup so dialed that you had 41% of your total store revenue being attributed to your emails, with around 80% of that being completely automated with flows. This is exactly what the fastest growing brands scaling to 9 figures are spending all their focus on. Their automated emails running 24/7 in the background, and these flows like the welcome flow, your abandonment, and your post-purchase flows are what allow you to become more profitable on your ads so that you can scale aggressively. Having generated over $250 million across 300 plus brands at Wellcopy, I've seen that most of the time 7 to 9 figure brands have base email flows set up, but they usually haven't been touched in multiple consecutive quarters. They're relying on outdated strategies and they are just completely unoptimized. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the core 5 to 7 email flows that every single brand needs to have directly in Klaviyo on your screen with the strategies we're seeing work the best in 2026. And then we're going to show you the realistic revenue ceiling for each one of these and core KPIs that you should shoot for. You must watch this video until the end to get all the value, because this video can be the difference between finding that profitable funnel that allows you to scale from 7 or 8 figures to 9 figures. So first, what are flows? Flows are a set of emails that get triggered based on action that a customer takes on your website or some sort of other trigger. These emails are going to send automatically to people. You set them up once, they're live in your account, and they're just going to send as people enter. For example, we can look at this top flow right here, the welcome flow, which has made $64,000 in the past 30 days. This is triggering when somebody is added to our newsletter list. So if somebody joins our email list, they're receiving this flow. Then we have the checkout abandon. If somebody starts checkout, that's when they're going to leave. Then we have our post purchase after somebody buys. We have our browse abandon if somebody views a product. We have an extra checkout abandon flow right here for a separate trigger. And our other sort of core flow is going to be the site abandon flow if somebody goes to our website and leaves. So you can see these are workflows, and you can see the split of revenue right here. This is pretty typical in terms of what I expect for most accounts in terms of the highest performing flows. Welcome flow is going to be first, and then checkout abandon. And then typically you're going to have like the cart abandon or the browse abandon in there before we get into post purchase. But in this setup, we've done a pretty good job at upselling and cross-selling. So we're going to be breaking down each one of these for you guys. We're going to be starting off with the welcome flow. Now the goal of the welcome flow is to get somebody to use that discount and use it now. So in order to do that, we need to educate them on the brand and add urgency on that offer. So what we found to be optimal in 2026 is to send daily. Do not send any sort of emails that are like 2 days, 3 days, or weeks apart. In 2026, when somebody joins their email list, that is the warmest they are ever going to be. If you wait too long, people get colder and colder and they're not going to buy. So we found that just sending daily emails for 3 to 5 emails is perfect. Why not send 8 to 10 emails? Well, you're going to be sending campaigns to your email list as well. And so people will naturally buy from campaigns. And also what really gets people to buy is urgency. So if we're sending a daily email for 10 days, then we have to get to day 9 to really push, hey, last chance. But if we have 3 to 5 emails, then we can have that urgency on days 4-ish. This is just what we found to be optimal across our 100 plus 7 to 9 figure brands that we work with. And number 2, we need to make sure we remind of the discount in every single email. I see so many welcome flows where people just stop reminding of the discount. That's the main reason that somebody's going to buy. So we need to remind of that in every single email. And then we need to add urgency. People buy from urgency. There's another massive mistake that I see a lot of brands make. They don't have enough urgency. So we need to make sure we add that. And the secret sauce is going to be to mix in our text-based emails. These are the emails that look like they're literally coming from a friend. There's no design on them. And this really stands out, and it's some of our best performing emails within our flow. So we can see what this looks like right here inside of Klaviyo. The trigger we have here is when somebody joins our email list, and then we're going to have a filter of anybody, making sure that they've placed orders 0 times since starting this flow. Essentially what these filters do is if somebody doesn't meet these requirements, then they're going to be skipped from this flow. So we have here this first email. You can see it's super high converting, 13.7% placed order rate, 14% clicks, 70% opens. And that's just where we're delivering the discount. And again, I'll show you some creatives here. You can see we wait 1 day. We actually resend this email to anybody who hasn't opened, but it's really not necessary. Something that you can do if you want. But essentially we're waiting a day before we go to a brand story email. We're going to see conversions really die off. And really your goal for the rest of this flow is going to just be prime the customer for future purchases. Give them all the education that they need and try to pick up the extra sales that you can. So we send that one, and then we wait 1 day, and then we do like why people choose us, adding a bit of urgency before now we can see the little jump in conversions right here by having, hey, your discount ends soon. And then we set a little delay right here to then have a text-based email from the team about the offer and extending that a little bit longer for them. That is a great welcome sequence. And that's the template I want you to follow. Keep it super simple. This is what I teach the members inside of my private course and community. Email 1, we're just gonna have a welcome and discount, introduce your brand, and then email 2, a brand story, benefits, offer reminder, and then email 3 followed up with your welcome offer expires soon, and then email 4 followed up with a text-based founder last chance email. That's, for example, what this flow is gonna look like. Hey, here's your 10% off, quick little education, and then our story email, how it all began, before we go into, hey, your discount's expiring, and then a text-based email reaching out from the founder and extending the discount. That is a perfect, simple welcome sequence. And actually within the community, I have all of these flows that I'm sharing with you completely templatized by email, and you have editable templates that you can use. There's all this activity going on. I give private posts and insights once a week. You can see one of these strategies I gave to Jeremy. It was the best performing email ever. There's a course that goes with it, templates, all sorts of other resources. Every YouTube video like this comes with its own documents and exclusive stuff. We even have 2 live calls per week. If you're interested, click the link below and we're going to have it for you, including all of these templates. Let's walk through a 10 out of 10 welcome sequence example right here, which we set up for a client. We can see right here, welcome email, discount code right up at the top. So that's all the person cares about. We're going to have a bit of brand education before the next day. We're going to do a little bit more education on how the brand works, what our products do. You can see again, the discount code right up at the top of the email. That's going to be super key. And then we go to the next email, which is going to be social proof, having all these testimonials, which we have meticulously picked and read through and made sure it's exactly what we want. And again, reminding of the welcome discount. And then we're going into urgency for this last one, 10% off with welcome 10. More education on how we stand out from competitors. And then we get into 2 text-based emails right here. The first text-based email being a check-in from the founder, like, hey, when I first made Hopper, this is what I was going for. I wanted to remind you of your welcome discount. Here it is, shop now. Then actually there's a quick survey email right here, which is like, hey, just click right here on why you didn't buy. We set this up so that we could see why people didn't buy so that we could then change our messaging. That's a 10 out of 10 welcome series. So just using Klaviyo's editor, you can build this out and make it look just like this setup that I've walked you through. As far as KPIs to shoot for in your welcome flow, you want to have at least 40% opens throughout your flow. You're going to get a little bit less later on, but that's okay, like we could see right here. For click rates, try to shoot for above 2% in all your emails. And as a whole, we want our flow to be converting at ideally 10% plus. We can see already right here, this first email is converting at 13.7%. It's going to vary brand to brand depending on your traffic quality, but every single brand that I shoot for, we like to get to at least 5%. But 10% plus is ideal. All right, we've gone through the welcome flow. Now let's get to our abandonment flows. There are 4 key abandonment flows, and it's very rare that I audit a brand and they have all of these. We're gonna have the site abandon flow, which is if somebody goes to the website, but they don't view any products and then they leave. You're gonna have the browse abandon flow, if somebody actually views a product page, but they don't go any further. Next, we have the cart abandon flow, if somebody clicks add to cart and then leaves. And then we have the checkout abandon flow. If somebody adds to cart and then they click go to checkout, right when they're entering their payment information, they leave. We need to have a flow for each one of these moments. You can see for this brand, cart abandon pulling up $67,000, checkout abandon $53,000, this browse abandon $49,000, and the site abandon $9,000. This is all just within the past 30 days. So what's our strategy with our abandonment flows? The site abandon right here, again, if somebody goes to the website but doesn't view a product, we're gonna have 1 to 2 emails. That's it. You don't need anything crazy. We just want to get them back to the website. Our browse abandon, cart abandon, and checkout abandon have a bit more intent. And so these ones, we found that 3 to 5 emails sending daily is perfect. For the browse abandon, just show the product they've viewed, have a little bit of urgency, and maybe guide them towards some other products. For cart abandon, they really showed interest in a product, so instead we want to go a little bit more on social proof. And checkout abandon is the last little nudge, so we really want to go hard on social proof and risk reversals, because they were so close on buying. The 2 rules with every abandonment email is we need to have our dynamic product section at the very top of our email. We do not want to bury this section. If somebody left an item behind, we want to put it right in their face, right up at the top of the email. And rule number 2 is we want aggressive copy. We don't want passive copy like, hey, forgetting something. We want to use stuff like, hey, your order's ready to go. Your order's ready to ship. That messaging converts way better. So that's the sort of idea that we want for these abandonment flows. Let's start off with the site abandon, which again, this is available for anybody inside of my private community with all these templates. This is the simple setup in Klaviyo that we want. We want the trigger to be someone's active on site. We just want to have filters of somebody has viewed product 0 times, they've added to cart 0 times, they've gone to checkout 0 times, and they've placed order 0 times since starting this flow. So this shows anybody who just landed on the website but didn't view any further pages. The big thing that we're doing within our abandonment flows is we add this split based on if somebody has bought from us before. We split based on placed order at least once over all time. If somebody has bought from us before, we're going to give them some custom content. But if somebody hasn't bought from us before, we're going to give them custom content as well. In particular, we're going to remind them of the welcome discount that they probably just signed up for. So a lot of times people will go to the website, sign up to the discount, and then immediately abandon. So all of our abandonment flows, we're splitting based on if somebody's bought from us before or not. And then right here, we just have our emails built in. So this is exactly what the functional setup looks like inside of Klaviyo. We can see the base strategy that I give is, again, having this purchase split right here. And then even for non-buyers, we added an extra text-based email, which is optional, but it's a good idea to include. include. Let's take a look at some of these templates in these examples. Here's one right here for a CPG brand. Your health isn't one size fits all, but most supplements are. And so essentially it's just some education on the product. And then this text-based email following up, pushing people to find their personalized formula. This is great and it fits this brand. That's if you're not offering any sort of discount. But if we are offering a discount for non-buyers, this is a great non-buyer sequence that you can send right here. Still browsing, 2 products thoughtfully made to nourish and hydrate, ready when you are. And then linking again the first order discount right up here at the top. Got a great testimonial right here to help get people over the edge and then guiding them towards the 2 products before following up again with the founder message and reminding of that discount. If I was going to adjust this email for people who have bought from us before, then I would just literally just remove this section right here and then maybe choose a couple different testimonials focused on people who bought multiple times. And that is the perfect side abandon flow and what we want to have. And again, we have templates for each one of these. This is a brand we recently started working with. Looking at our results the past 30 days compared to before we started, you see email revenue of 44% of the total store revenue, up 152%, and total store revenue up 36%. See flows are at $529,000. And these attribution settings are 1 day open, 1 day click, not the bullshit 5 day open, 5 day opens that people flex. And here you can see the increase in flow performance that we were able to get for them. January, $216,000, all the way to March at $471,000, doubling their flow conversions. If you want to optimize flows, we can set this up for you at my agency Wellcopy. We run email and SMS for some of the top 7 to 9 figure brands, and I'd love to run an audit of your account and let you know what I think we could do for you. Click the link below and then we can chat. Next up, let's go to the browse abandon flow. If somebody views a product and then they leave. This is the base strategy right here. These green emails are going to be the text-based emails, and the blue ones are going to be graphic-based emails. I'll show you the Klaviyo setup, but real quick, just so you get an idea, we're going to split again based on if somebody's bought from us before. If yes, they go down this path. If they haven't bought from us before, then they're going to go down this path where we give the welcome offer right off the bat with a quick nudge. We'll have a text-based reminder with the welcome offer. And then we're going to enter a flash discount right here, and then a last chance text-based. Where on the past buyer side, we're doing the same sort of thing with the flash discount at the end, but these first 2 emails aren't going to have that welcome discount. So inside of Klaviyo for this brand, we're actually doing an A/B test on the timing of the first email, doing 30 minutes versus 15 minutes. And so this makes this look kind of confusing, but we can just look at like one side and then ignore that side for now. But if you look at this, pretty interesting. Waiting 15 minutes, look at the placed order rate of these emails, 2.2 and 4.7 versus waiting 30 minutes, 1.3 and 2.3. So it looks like being quick performs better. But anyways, let's just look at this side, the 15-minute delay. Returning purchasers right here. We have this email versus the non-buyers. They're getting this one. We wait 1 day and then we send this. And this brand actually specifically doesn't like to offer discounts for past buyers. So we actually stop the email flow right here. But for people who haven't bought from us before, we add an extra discount and then a text-based reminder right here. It's low volume since we've just started testing this. But that's the functional setup inside of Klaviyo. Here's what a good browse abandon email 1 could look like. Did something catch your eye? Remind of that welcome discount for non-buyers. For browse abandon, somebody might not have found the product that they liked, and so we push towards some other products. Email 2, if we go with the text-based approach, this is perfect. Just like, hey, the founder here. Here's a little bit of information. Saw you're browsing our products. Make sure to use your welcome discount. And then once we enter the offer, you could do something simple like this with this flash sale. Then email 4, the text-based sort of setup right here, which you could follow up with. So that is the browse abandon flow. Somebody views a product and then leaves. Now we have 2 of the most important flows, the cart abandon and the checkout abandon. These 2 flows are going to be very, very similar. If somebody adds to cart and then leaves, and if somebody adds to checkout and then leaves, they're pretty similar customers. And so you can honestly have the same email creatives for both of them. We like to make them slightly different, but to save time, then you can have them completely be the same, but we need to have separate flows inside of Klaviyo. One for the cart abandon trigger, one for the checkout abandon trigger. So we can see here, we have the cart abandon flow added to cart and the checkout abandon flow, which has checkout started. Now, most brands I audit, they only have this trigger of the checkout started, but they don't have a flow for this trigger, the add into cart trigger. So make sure that you double check and make sure that you have that. So what's the actual difference between them? So the cart abandon trigger is going to fire right when I click this button right here because I've added to cart. So if I were to leave right now, I would receive the cart abandon flow, this one right here. But I haven't gone to checkout. This checkout started trigger hasn't fired. And so again, most brands I audit don't have the cart abandon flow. So if I were to leave right now, most brands do not have anything set up for this. Now, the only way the checkout abandon flow is going to fire is if I actually click go to checkout and I go to the checkout page. And then I go right here. And this is what has fired that trigger and is what's going to enter people into this flow. So it's key that we understand the differences. So for the cart abandon flow, we're just going to have the filters of somebody's checkout started 0 times to starting this flow. Because if somebody goes to checkout, we want them to receive that flow and they haven't placed an order. While the checkout flow is going to be placed order 0 times to starting this flow. And we just added this extra filter for received emails 0 times where they're in the cart abandon sequence. We're actually A/B testing this flow as well, so we're just going to look on this side here. For the past fires, we're a little bit less aggressive per the brand's request, but we like to make sure these emails are sending 1 day apart. You can see the raised discount right here, but for people who haven't bought from us before, we're just reminding of the discount. Same thing for the cart abandon flow right here. Here's what the functional setup and what some of the numbers can look like. Now let's go to the strategy and the creative. Here's what a great cart and checkout abandon email looks like right off the bat. Now, for non-buyers, I'd want to put the discount right up at the top, but we can see the copy is aggressive. It's like, hey, just 1 click away, finish my order. We have the dynamic product block. This is actually going to show the product that they left behind. We have that as hype in the email as possible, and we have a bit of education. We follow it up then with a text-based email right here, which again, for people who haven't bought from emails before, I'd remind of that welcome discount, and then the raised discount right here of 15% off, a little bit of education, overcoming objections right here, and then the final text-based email. That's the sort of setup, and that's kind of what we teach right here, where we split based on buyers and non-buyers, graphic, text-based, graphic, text-based. That's typical cadence that I like to do, doing 50-50 of graphic-based versus text-based. Now, there's a lot more complex stuff we could do within these abandonments, splitting based on, for example, exactly what product the person left behind, but this is usually the standard, simple setup that I recommend starting with. So we got through all our pre-purchase flows, the welcome flow, and all of our abandonments. Now we get to our post-purchase flows, which I have 2 key post-purchase flows. We have the immediate post-purchase flow, which is going to be right when somebody buys all the way until days 21 to 30 after buying. And then we're going to have the win-back flow. Somebody bought from us months ago and they haven't bought since, and we're trying to get them back. Now this flow is going to vary a ton brand to brand. Some brands like supplement brands are going to have a little bit more aggressive post-purchase flows because people will consume the product and they need a rebuy. Whereas like a furniture brand, it's probably going to be a little bit different. So let's walk through the base setup for the post-purchase flow. I like to keep it super open-ended for people and just give the bare minimum that I recommend, which is right when somebody buys, we want to split based on the number of purchases and give somebody a text-based founder thank you message. Somebody bought from us the first time, let's address that and make it a very heartwarming sort of message. For second purchase, slightly update it. Third, the same. And then fourth, we can use the same one across that. And then we're going to follow it up a couple days later with some sort of educational email on how to make the most of your purchase or how it works. So just so you can help visualize it, this is like what that initial thank you email looks like. And this is one of our best performing emails. So I highly recommend you get this set up as soon as you can. Text-based, comes from the founder, looks like it's coming from a friend. Hey Max, I just wanted to personally say thank you. I understand that your first order is more than clicking buy. It's a leap of trust. We don't take that lightly. When I started this brand, it wasn't some corporate mission, yada, 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 go a bit into the brand story. And then if you have any questions, just hit reply. And then this PS upsell right here. Everybody reads PS sections. Statistically, it's the most read part of any email. And so we gain a ton of trust points right here. We make the person feel good. And then we have this custom sort of cross sell of PS while you wait. This is my favorite supplement to pair with what you ordered. It's going to multiply your results. This is the sort of email that we like to have set up. And then for the next email, I highly recommend some sort of educational sort of email on how to use the product. For example, if you're a consumable, you can show things like this, which are recipes with your product. That can be something that works. Questions about how to actually apply your product. If you want to do subtle cross sells, you can do this of like, hey, you bought a ring, try looking at some of our other products. This, in my opinion, is a really good setup where you have the immediate thank you message, and then you've got like, hey, this is making the most out of your box, and a little bit of information of how your products are going to arrive, and then try this Energizer smoothie right here. That I think is a great way to show the product and education, and then following it up with an upsell. Hey, +1, here are some add-ons that you could add on to your product. That's great and super simple. So definitely make sure that you have that initial thank you message and then have some sort of educational email, and then you can add whatever other emails you think is relevant for your customers after that. Here's, for example, functionally how this looks. Inside of Klaviyo, we're just gonna have the trigger of placed order, and then you really don't need any filters here. And then we're gonna have our splits here for customizing the email based on if somebody has fulfilled order or placed order is at most once over all time. That's gonna go to the first time buyers, and then we have the second time buyers right here, and then third, and then fourth, and then we skip it for the 5th plus. This brand doesn't have a lot of repeat purchases, so that's why most are right here, but you can see the engagement and the amount of revenue that this first email can bring if you do it right. And then wait 1 day, and depends on the brand. This one we did an aggressive upsell, and then this one we do some product education. 14 days later, we go with the review request, so it's completely up to you, and then we added like, hey, send in some pictures, because this brand wants a lot more UGC. So that is a super simple setup that you can have inside of your post-purchase flow. As an added bonus, a great email that I like to have set up is this founder check-in, roughly 21 to 28 days after purchase. This really goes a long way in the customer experience. Reach out from the founder or someone from the team, say like, hey, this is my name. It's been nearly X amount of time since you started your journey with us. By now, you might be feeling this. And if you have any questions, please reply to this email. We hope things are going well. And then you can link other products. People love seeing this. It gets a a lot of replies, it gets a lot of engagement, and actually a lot of people rebuy from it. But I highly recommend getting something like this set up. But of course, again, everything's going to vary brand to brand. But hopefully that gave you an idea of what your post-purchase flow should look like. Now let's get to the last flow, which is going to be the win-back flow. If somebody bought from us months ago, how do we get them to come back? The one thing that we have to keep in mind about the win-back flow is that people have been receiving campaigns from us, and these people haven't bought from our campaigns. And so we can't just send regular emails in our win-back flow to try to get people to buy. For example, if I am a supplement brand and I sell creatine and I trigger my win-back flow after 120 days, somebody placed their last order 120 days ago, they haven't bought since. Well, if we look at that customer, they bought and they've been on my regular email list. And for our clients, we send at minimum 3 to 4 email campaigns per week. And in the 120 days that the person hasn't bought, they've probably received a few different awesome sales that we've ran, a ton of educational banger emails, new product releases, and a ton of other stuff, but they still haven't bought. So we really need to get strategic on this flow if we want to make sales. I found that it's a waste of time to try to do too much educational sort of nurture stuff because they've been receiving your campaigns. The biggest thing that's going to have an impact on your win-back flow is your offer. What are you giving somebody to come back? So that's what I highly recommend you test. If you want us to audit your flows, you can see some of the revenue each one of these flows is doing every single month for this brand right here. Then you can click the link in the description to book a call with us. We'll run a completely free audit and give you a roadmap to executing this either yourself or if you wanted to hire us to do it for you. Completely free, no strings attached. Just click the link below. So I like to keep it, again, super simple to start out. With each brand, you can add splits based on what product the person bought last, but I recommend getting your basis set up first, and that applies to everything. Meanwhile, then we're going to follow it up with our offer, which hopefully you offer test for this, and then we're going to finish with a text-based last chance discount. So we can see super simple, something like this, like, hey, it's been a while, push them towards your new arrivals, and then insert a discount right here, like this 10% off with this discount, and then follow it up with a text-based email, which this one they actually raised the discount. You can see right here, this is actually a test that we've been running on this win-back offer for this brand, 50-50 sample, some of them sending them this way, some of them sending it this way. First, starting off with some non-discount emails right here to see if that has an impact. We actually have tested this offer a couple times, but we're just doing a 50-50 sample and then we track the results. The functional setup here is we're going to want the profile filter to be placed orders 0 times since starting this flow, because if somebody places an order, we want them to get removed. But you can see here that the trigger, we actually make it a segment. Now you could absolutely set this flow up as a placed order trigger and then set a time delay of whatever your time delay is, like 120 days, for example. Problem is if you set that flow live, you are then going to have to wait 120 days for people to start receiving emails. This is why I always like having this trigger based off a segment. And let's go into that segment so you can see what it looks like. This one, it's literally just placed order at least once over all time, but they've placed order 0 times in the last 180 days. So this shows all of our win-back opportunities. And the second somebody enters this segment, they're going to be triggered into this flow. So if I were to set this flow live today with this segment, and new people are going to populate every day, and then this flow is going to fire immediately. So that's the setup that we like to run with. As far as like how long you should delay this flow, kind of use your best judgment as a brand, but I typically like to take the average time it takes for somebody to place their second order and then multiply that times 3. For example, if on average people take roughly 45 days to place another order, and I'm going to take 45 times 3, and that's going to be 135 days is when I'm going to trigger that win-back flow. And the key here is just offer testing. If you have a team who's running your emails, but they're not doing that offer testing, then you should book a call to work with us because we manage that completely for you. That is the flow setup. Now let's talk a little bit about the A/B tests that you should be doing within your flows. So you always want to make sure that you get your basics locked in. Make sure you get everything set up that I showed you, and only then can you start doing some testing. And the 4 things that I highly recommend you test right off the bat. The first one is going to be offers. It is the single most impactful variable. Test different discounts in your cart abandon and checkout abandon, in your welcome sequence, in your win-back and post-purchase flows. This has the biggest impact on purchasing behavior. Things like % off versus dollar off versus free gifts versus different bundles, whatever it is, test your offers. It's the only thing that I've seen truly be able to deliver 2x to 5x impact on results. Next, subject lines, just because they're so easy to set up. And I recommend looking at total revenue and not look at opens for subject lines. It's a little bit different than how people typically look at it, but I've seen some subject lines be able to create double to triple the amount of revenue in some emails just because it changes the frame in which somebody will open your email. For example, an email with the subject line of forgetting something is going to have a different effect on somebody compared to if that subject line says your order is packed and ready to ship, and using that for an abandonment email. That second option is probably going to get a lot more routing. So I like to test subject lines. The next is send timing, which as you saw throughout this video, we do quite a bit of testing on send timing, and it's going to vary brand to brand, and that's an easy one as well to set up. And the next one is going to be email format. So using graphic-based emails versus text-based emails, using long-form emails versus short-form, things like that. However, the biggest piece of advice that I could give you for optimizing your flows is to take your winning campaigns and move those into your flows. Say you have a non-discount email campaign, an educational email that absolutely crushes for you that you sent out to your list. Well, that would be pretty foolish to just let that go to waste. Take that email, slightly adjust it to include the welcome discount, and use that email and replace the lowest performing email you have in your current welcome series. If you create an awesome educational email on how to use your product, then why not introduce that into the post-purchase flow so that now anybody who buys your product is going to be able to receive that email and get the value from it. Think smarter, not harder. That's my favorite thing to do with flow setup. So that's every flow that matters and the order in which to build them, as well as the back-end systems behind what they look like. And if you want the templates that I went over inside of here, then join the community. The link is going to be below. And you get access to over 230 people who are actively in here asking questions and attending all the live calls. And if you want somebody to build out your email flows for you, then book a call below and we'll get you set up with us. If you just want to keep learning from me, then click here onto the next video where I'm going to break down some of the funnels that brands are using to scale at record pace in 2026. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.